All right, everybody. The Bengals are 1-0. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. It's time for the first Jake and Joe Bengals post-game show of the 2025 season. And we get to talk about a win to start things off, and we get to give away a couple of awesome PlayStation 5s. We'll have our giveaway winner from X from Twitter. We'll have a giveaway later in the show. Make sure you use that hashtag in the chat. First Star Logistics. The instructions are on the string. Hashtag First Star Logistics for a chance to win that awesome Bengals themed PlayStation 5. And well, Joe, it's great to be back here, courtesy of First Star Logistics, our wonderful partner in this endeavor. First Star Logistics is hiring. So if you want to work for First Star Logistics, the way that Joe and I are working with First Star Logistics, you're looking for a new career, one of the fastest growing companies in Cincinnati, looking to expand its brokerage department by hiring individuals that are looking for a fast-paced career in the logistics industry. Visit firststarlogistics.com. Get all the details on how you can join the team at one of the top companies to work for in the Cincinnati area. And Joe, well, sometimes, like I said, better to be lucky than good, right? Things to work on. Nicer to have things to work on when you're 1-0 instead of 0-1.
Yeah, I think that's really, we're at end game with week one, right? It's like, I just get a win. I don't care how it looks. We said on the preview show, I'd love if they blew them out, but we also expected some frustration. All of these games against the Browns tend to do that. You tend to get the worst out of Joe Burrow. They match up well in the front. They match up well corners to receiver, and it's going to be a slugfest. The first half, I felt pretty good. I'm like, okay, we got 2 touchdowns. Y'all knew a field goal. Yeah, they're really controlling the pace of the game. The Browns were by having these long drives, methodical drives. I didn't like that. I felt like that means it's going to come down to one possession at the end. But at the same time, you felt like the running game's working on offense. The defense is playing well, good run defense. If you're going to take a Joe Burrow versus a Joe Flacco game, I'll take that any day. Well, the second half screeched that to a halt completely on the offensive side. I said before we started recording, I think that's the worst half of offense we've seen out of Zach Taylor Bengals, not just Joe Burrow Bengals. Like, I would have to go back and look at 2019 and wonder, was there anything that bad? Would they have just a few yards total net at the end there in the second half? The positive is that should not continue and that the defense played well. But as a big picture item, I just couldn't believe how bad the offense looked and that the defense saved the day multiple times. And they got lucky multiple times, which we also said in the preview show. Bengals were super unlucky last year. You need some of this to bounce your way.
They got a lot of it to bounce their way in this game. And some of it was they created some of their own luck. They forced a field goal attempt that was then missed by an inexperienced kicker who missed an extra point earlier in the game. They forced Joe Flacco to throw inaccurately on at least one of the 2 interceptions that we saw. And that, I think, is a credit to them finding ways to get pressure late in the game when the Browns became one-dimensional. And I think a credit to, we've talked about this a lot this offseason, this defense generally being so focused on being so much better in the run game. And they held the Browns in this game, as I try to pull up the team stats, to 2 yards per carry. Joe Flacco and Harold Bannon Jr., the leaders in rushing average for the Cleveland Browns at 3 yards per carry each. And Dylan Sampson, who looks like a guy,
he does,
and was very hard to bring down, just 2.4 yards per carry. And I saw a great stat on Twitter, and I am trying to find the tweeter to credit them, but it was something like it was the first time maybe ever that a team has had at least 24 carries, and the longest carry went for 5 yards for the Cleveland Browns. That is consistency. That is down work for this defense. And what was one of our biggest concerns after the preseason? And it's shifted now on defense. Now we're really concerned about that secondary, and we'll talk about the specifics there, but really concerned about that run D in the preseason. And boy, did they show up today. And it wasn't a great offensive line, and it wasn't, some sort of world-beating run game that the Cleveland Browns bring to the table the way like a Baltimore Ravens or Philadelphia Eagles would. But they took care of business in the run game today.
No doubt. And actually, I was getting concerned going to week one to have the Bengals gone too heavy focused on defending the run. Like, it's an important thing and you need to defend the run. But I was starting to get concerned with some of the edge rushing, what we saw in preseason. Like, are these guys developing? Are they good enough to make a difference? And in the first half, they defended the run, and the pass rush was nowhere to be found. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what we're going to see this year. They're going to be good against the run, but can't generate a pass rush, which was the case last year as well. But they were bad against the run, so I'll take that trade off. But in the second half, the pressure started happening. Trey started getting unleashed there. He had 7 pressures and a sack. BJ Hill had 6 pressures. Joseph Osai flashed a ton, quite a few times got in the face of Flacco or got near Flacco enough to make him either move out of the pocket or force that throw, which I thought Osai was just going to take it from behind Flacco. First reach back. I'm like, you're just going to pick this thing off his shoulder and run it back. It turns out to be an interception with Jordan Battle making a great play. 2 diving interceptions, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle. And I see the young guys in the secondary, while we're going to have issues with them and probably complain about the secondary a little bit. Hey, we make plays. So 2 things that I think we heard all offseason for the defense. Stop the run, force some turnovers. Also, I would say tackle better too. Maybe there was 3 things. And I thought they did for the most part. Had some nice, timely open field tackles. That Oren Burks had one, Jordan Battle had one, and it really set the stage for a couple of those stops there, especially in the second half.
Big difference when Logan Wilson was on and off the field in this game too. A lot of concern about Logan Wilson in the preseason, from what I could tell from my read on the Bengals social media sphere, and when he left, wasn't so good. Barrett Carter, I'm excited for Barrett Carter. Really bad angle on one of those 2nd and 15 plays on Cleveland's second touchdown drive where he was in for Logan. I think this is a play, and ends up giving up to Dylan Sampson like 13 yards after the catch. Could set up a 3rd and 12 or something. Instead, it's a 3rd and 2. The Browns converted 4 third downs on that drive. But you're right. You credit a lot of these guys for getting after the passer late in this game. Trey Hendrickson was Trey Hendrickson, especially in pass rush situations. There was one play, I have a tweet on this. One of the last 3rd down conversions for the Browns, it was like a quick out to Jerry Jeudy where Cam Taylor-Britt's flat-footed, and the announcers are very critical of him. Yeah, there's the back foot getting dragged on the ground there. And Trey wins against DeJuan Jones about as fast as you can win as a pass rusher, and he's going to get a sack. But unfortunately, Cam Taylor-Britt has no indication, like gives nothing to tell Joe Flacco, hey, maybe you should think twice about throwing this ball. Instead, he's just flat-footed, beat on the easy outbreaker there. So I think Cam Taylor-Britt, one of the bigger concerns coming out of this game, after there was a lot of steam built up behind him, especially in terms of like faith from the coaching staff in the preseason. On the other hand, Dax Hill, who we've been excited about to see how he would be in his return from the ACL injury, not really thinking about him much after this game. They sent him on a blitz. That was an interesting utilization of Dax Hill, but in coverage, I think Dax stood up, and his usage, I think, quite interesting as well.
I agree. And I've got 3 other players we should talk about on defense before we, really move on there. TJ Slayton is equally as good as a pass rusher as he was a run defender today, which is something he's never been a really good pass rusher so to get 2.
And you know what? I tried to tell people in the preseason, like I can't. He had some bursts, and it's unexpected for him for sure.
He looked burstier at times than BJ Hill, and Hill racked up 6 pressures, but off the line and like really knifing through. I was like, look at Slayton. He would immediately grab my attention because you don't see big guys moving like that. He racked up a couple pressures. He was good against the run. He and Mike Pennell. I thought Pennell's, what a good signing that is late. Shout out to Dalton Reisner and Noah Fant, also playing a big role in post free agency signings. But Demetrius Knight, for as bad as he was in preseason, had a bunch of flashes, and I thought he still had some mistakes. But if you mix that in with positive impact flashes, I'll take that all day long. We'll work through the negatives as the rookie season goes. But just a nice breath of fresh air to be like, okay, it's not all bad with him. He can make some plays. He can be in the right position. And then Shamar Stewart as well. Yep. There were a couple plays. He should have had probably 2 batted passes. The one, I don't know if they're going to count it all because it kind of just squeaked by his jersey, and then Logan Wilson hit it on the screen. The other one was nullified due to a penalty. But at the same time, I thought he looked active versus the run. He was holding his own. He was pushing linemen around and tight ends around that were trying to block him. And he got close. He flashed a couple times. I don't know if he got credit for any pressures, or I didn't check that if you have it in front of you, Jake. But he looked like he got
3
close
pressures.
On a couple.
3 pressures according to PFF, and was incidentally their 2nd highest graded defender in the initial grades. And I said I was going to stop referring to these because these are going to change a ton we should be taking these with a massive grain of salt, but it was Trey Hendrickson, Shamar Stewart, Dax Hill, BJ Hill, then Jordan Battle. And those guys all passed the eye test. Tyson Anderson got in there. And honestly, when Tyson Anderson was on the field, he made a play on defense too before Geno Stone got back into the game. What did you think of Jordan Battle in this game? I think some of these are going to be things that we're going to have to go back and watch on tape, because Dax Hill encouraging, DJ Turner a little bit up and down, had the pass interference call, had a really, like, the interception for DJ Turner and Jordan Battle, both of those really heads up plays to take advantage of the tip drill situation when they found themselves in the tip drill situation. Geno Stone also with a lot of green, along with Logan Wilson on this defense. Some of these are, again, going to be things that we go back and look at when we watch on tape. But did any of the safety plays stand out to you as you were watching live? Was it really just like a Cam Taylor-Britt is maybe a little bit of a weak link right now in this game in the secondary?
So when I, right after games, try to evaluate safeties, because so many of their plays are outside of our screen, we don't get to see them. I look for, did they have many or any missed tackles? And I didn't notice too many from either guy, which has been an issue for Stone throughout his career. So I didn't notice that. And did they get beat over the top? And they did not today at all. And I don't even think the Browns even tried any. So, really, I come away with like, okay, great. Now, did you make a play? Also, Jordan Battle made a play. He made a couple nice defensive stops as well. I will take that all day long. Now we'll go back and watch the film and we'll see, were they out of position? Was there any opportunity that the Browns maybe missed? Did a guy fall down? Did he have bad coverage? Whatever it may be. But for off first live view, I'm good with both safeties. I thought both safeties were in their position. Honestly, the defense as a whole, I thought was good. It was a couple penalties there on that first drive. I tweeted this after. I was like, I think the defense is going to be fine. Those penalties are random. It happens. It doesn't mean it's going to be called equally for both sides. Doesn't mean it's going to continue for the rest of the game. Oh, they're calling it tight, as the announcer said. Doesn't have to be the case. It was just on that play they decided to throw a flag. That's how NFL officiating goes. And after that, they were fine for the most part. If the offense had more support and was putting more pressure on this Browns offense, I think the Bengals defense, the way they woke up in the second half of that pass rush, we may have seen that a little bit more, and they could have maybe attacked a little bit more often.
It was a little bit concerning when Trey was off the field, as you would expect, significantly worse when Trey wasn't on the field. But overall, I don't think you can be too upset with the Bengals pass rush in this game. According to PFF's initial charting, they've got Joe Flacco pressured on 37% of his dropbacks, which you take that. That's a pretty good number compared to Joe Burrow, who is 35% of his dropbacks in the end. And that number was like 25% before the fourth quarter when things really fell apart on the offensive line. And we will have to get to, unfortunately, the things that went wrong on the offense. But in a win, choosing to start with some of the things that were nice. And let's take a look at that interception for Jordan Battle. And what's nice about this is we get to immediately point out this pass rush win for Joseph Osai here, immediately winning around the edge against the guard.
Defensive tackle. Yeah.
And we have a set here, and this is what they went to as well late in the game, 2-minute drive before they get the DJ Turner interception. You got Shamar Stewart at left end, Joseph Osai, right defensive tackle, Trey Hendrickson, right end. And we saw Trey moving around much more than we ever saw him move with Lou Anarumo. And interestingly, Chris Jenkins was a defensive tackle. I wonder if that'll change as BJ Hill gets his feet under him a little bit, because I think BJ Hill is just better in these situations and obviously more experienced. And it wasn't a bad game for Chris Jenkins, don't get me wrong, but like didn't really see that pass rushing step we were hoping to see. But as we let this play continue to go, you're talking about right here, Joseph Osai is really close to either a sack or just give me that ball. Like that hand is on the ball right there and doesn't quite come away with it, but does enough to get Flacco to move, throw off balance. And Joe Flacco,
and Shamar hit the elbow. If you remember the replay, if you saw it from behind, Shamar just hits the elbow as Flacco's releasing it.
And we can see that if we go back just a little bit here, Shamar Stewart pushing the Conklin left the game. And so it was a backup right tackle for the Browns. And Shamar gets his hand in there right there. And when you're off your spot, somebody hits your arm, that throw goes off target and leads to that forced diving attempt. And Jordan Battle picking it up off the wide receiver's hands. I mean,
he looks thinner, does he not? Battle.
He
was carrying some weight last year.
That was an issue that we heard about for Jordan Battle going into training camp last year. Shall we finish with one more defensive highlight here? The more or less game-winning interception for DJ Turner. Let's take a look and see what happens here. I couldn't remember if there was pressure on this play. There's
It's
a
a
little
press
bit,
man.
but not enough. Yeah, Joe, what do you see here? Let's just
So
let's
going
watch
back
that.
to the beginning, we got press man, something we're concerned about with Al Gold. Not concerned, but just something to keep tabs with how much are they going to play man. I thought they went to it more in the second half, which they looked better when they were. And yeah, I think Trey right away is getting around that corner. Flacco knows he's got to get rid of the ball, can't sit back there. Tillman's open. It's just bad ball placement. It's back inside and low, which forces him to come back across and reach with his hands underneath. And he tips the ball up in the air. DJ Turner, hey, you can't give up on the play, right? You got to stay with it. Whether you're a young kid playing or even in the NFL, stay with it the whole time. And Turner closes and makes a diving catch.
Yeah, exactly. On both of these plays, it's not necessarily that Joe Flacco is fooled or that he's making a bad decision or that there's like a great, jumping the pass or jumping the route or anything from the defenders, but it is instead really difficult plays to when the ball is available for you. How many times last year did we say, man, they were so close to an interception on that tip drill and they just couldn't quite come up with it? They made those plays in this game. And this is, Flacco's a little bit sped up. Ball has to come out. It's reasonable timing there, but the ball placement's just not where it needs to be. So you credit the defensive front a little bit for that. You credit DJ Turner for capitalizing on the opportunity. But despite all of this, the cynics out there are going to look at this game and say, man, they got lucky. Back-to-back drops on a 3rd and 4th down to get off the field earlier in the game. The missed field goal, missed extra point. Despite what we saw from this defense to close out the game, when they did get some stops in the second half and they started finding consistent pressure when they knew the Browns had to throw the ball, there's still room for improvement on that side of the ball, especially in the secondary, especially when we're talking about Cam Taylor-Britt, who, again, this is going to be 2 straight years of asking questions about Cam Taylor-Britt. Anything else on the defense before we get to the offense?
One other thing, there was a couple of 3rd down conversions for the Browns where they were stacking the receivers up directly behind each other and almost releasing them together towards the outside, stringing out the outside corners in man, and then cutting inside. And it was Judy a couple times on a 3rd down situation. And DJ Turner just looked like, I need an inside help here or something. I saw him point to Stone on one play and they start talking right after a conversion. Someone asked me on Twitter, what are they supposed to do there? That's a great call by Stefanski on a 3rd down situation because you condense them. And so I could run out if I'm Judy, but all I'm really doing is stringing you out wide and you kind of have to remain distant from me because you have 2 receivers there at the same time. And it's just cutting in between. It's a tough ask for the corner. Only thing you can really do is get Flacco to hesitate by some simulated pressure or a blitz or a different coverage, something. And they really just didn't have it there.
And they tried to run some of those kind of zone blitz simulated pressure kind of looks in this game a few times. Logan Wilson was the primary blitzer for this defense, and it was okay. A lot of people were asking me on Twitter, Joe, why did Bengals didn't blitz more? PFF had it at 14.5% of Flacco's dropbacks for blitz, which is not a super large number. You compare it to Joe Burrow, and you generally don't blitz Joe Burrow. The Browns blitzed him on 18% of his dropbacks. So not a ton of blitzing, but there was some, and there was a fair amount of dropping defenders into pressure. One was very noticeable with Trey Hendrickson in coverage on a conversion, where to me, it was that play, and Trey dropped into coverage 3 times, according to PFF charting. Miles Murphy dropped into coverage once. For me, that was a play that was like, let's go really back and watch what the Bengals were doing in 3rd and say 6+. Those 3rd and passing 3rd and 5+, the 3rd and passing situations where to me it looked like maybe they were being a little too big brain about some of the pressure design, some of the really long developing stunts versus like you watch the way the Browns are running these stunts, and Myles Garrett's a freak. It's not really fair, but Myles Garrett's teleporting from like wide 9 to the A gap, and Joseph Osai is taking 3 seconds to get there.
Yeah, he's going down the field or up the field, I guess, and then trying to loop back around. It's just like that's going to take so long.
Yeah, it's just some of the pressure designs to me on 3rd downs in particular were just a little bit too long, knowing that you had some vulnerabilities in the coverages behind you, knowing what you had called. But it was a good job from Kevin Stefanski to take advantage of those opportunities where they had them. But the other thing that's going to be really interesting, in addition to the pressure designs on 3rd down to me, Joe, is you talked about how much they went to man, and just seeing, based on the tendency we saw from Al Golden at Notre Dame, do they just go to man on third downs?
Right.
Do they go to man on these money downs consistently? But between the coverages that they went to on third down and the pressure designs and the fronts they presented on third down, that's going to be really interesting to me on film review when we get to that point. And overall, the defense did enough. It was still lucky. Let's get to the offensive side of the ball, Joe. After I shout out a couple of things, first off, thanks to Jabril Taylor, not Peppers, the safety.
We could use Jabril Peppers still. I'm still in.
Still good. Still take it. Jabril Taylor pointing out that it was Hayden Winks with the tweet. And I went and found the tweet, and it was the second time in the last 3 years that a team had at least 24 carries with the longest run being 5 yards. They had 1 of 17 early down runs successful for the Cleveland Browns. And some of that is on the Cleveland Browns, but you also have to credit the Bengals for what they did in run defense in this game. Let's get to the offense, Joe. After my last shout out, which is Ryan Rico. Beautiful punt to finish the game. Had his ups and downs. The touchback on the first punt of the game from the 43-yard line was absolutely brutal, but a beautiful, beautiful clutch punt to really remove 99.9% of doubt at the end of that game. And I don't say all doubt because we're Bengals fans here. Let's get to the offense, Joe. What are we talking about here? I thought it started out pretty reasonably. I thought for a long time this wasn't normal slow start Joe Burrow stuff. Yeah. The longer the game went on, the more I started to think, yeah, no, this is some slow start Burrow stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny because we have always attributed it to, like, what are we going to go to next now, right? It's like, oh, it's because he was injured, or oh, because they don't play in preseason. Like, what are we going to say? Are we just going to say, oh, it's because it's the Browns? His career numbers are not great against the Browns. They're okay, but it's like a 95 passer rating throughout his career.
And it wasn't just Joe either. Like, they had a couple close plays on the sideline that receivers weren't uncovering. Your offense is built around Joe, Jamar, and T. And those guys collectively left a little bit to be desired in this game.
We also didn't know how bad Burrow was week 1 in the post game until we watched the film and we said, oh, there was like 3 or 4 throws there that he just did not want to make, or did not want to pull the trigger on, or didn't want to navigate or couldn't navigate the pocket at the time. And so it'll be interesting on film to see what was there, because it was funny. It seemed like his third down decisions were small margin, right? Like they were going to throw it down the field. And I thought Jamar originally dropped that one down the sideline, but then the real tight shot in HD slow motion showed Newsom's hands between Jamar's hands. And I'm like, and
awesome blind pass breakup for Newsom.
Great play in the hands.
Throwing the hand out there.
Yeah. And people are just, what a terrible call by Zach. And I'm like, what is the call? He didn't tell him to throw it down the vertical down the sideline. That's based on the defense and based on what Joe sees and picks his matchup. So I can't wait to watch the film and see what was actually out there, because I go back to last season and I thought, watching the film of the Chiefs and the Patriots games, I thought, oh, the offense is going to be fine. They'll be all right. The plays are there. I wonder if we're going to see that again here, or if the Browns just really have their number. Because when you go back to 2023, that Browns game, nothing was open. There was nothing there. The Browns were all over it, and Joe had his injuries, and it was raining and all these things. There's another rain excuse for week 1, right? We got all these. But the Browns stick with them so well. It's really a matchup of, can you get a lead on them? And surprisingly, looking back, the Bengals had a lead pretty much this entire game, but it did not feel that way. And they couldn't control the game. They couldn't control the clock. They couldn't really control the script the way you should when you have a lead. It's a 1-point lead for most of it. So, I understand that. But at the same time, it's concerning to me. The biggest thing is that there were not more manufactured touches for their stars, right? So that's like my big thing. Like, okay, you're struggling. Let's try to get the ball to Jamar. Let's get him in the slot. Let's move him in motion. The one play that they didn't snap it on, that 4th and 1, and Jamar's going back, and I'm like, he's open. Like, you can snap.
Denzel Ward was like, you're not snapping the ball. I don't need to run with Jamar across the formation. I'm not wasting my energy.
I think he slipped at one point, and I'm like, yeah, snap it now. But, they obviously weren't going to snap it at any point, but we didn't see enough motion. I saw Jamar in the backfield on one play. I thought he was going to directly get that. Didn't. So I can't wait to go back and watch and see, were you designing for these guys? Because you just paid all of your studs, right, on offense. And you had multiple opportunities to finish this game, close it out, or create an insurmountable gap for the Browns. And the offense failed multiple times I'm assuming coaches X's and O's, Burrow, O-line, 3 straight sacks in a row, and the weapons not being able to shake, Newsome and Ward. So it's concerning, but at the same time, big picture, long season outlook, whatever.
It's hard to make too many conclusions because it was really a tale two halves. And Jim Schwartz has been good against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Those corners, like you said, have been good against these Bengals wide receivers. I thought, and I said this in our game preview, that the receivers eventually should do enough. The weapons should be too much. One of the more disappointing things to me in this game was the invisibility of wide receiver 3. We had, 3 targets from Mike Gesicki, and one of them was a good catch. They had the fade ball to him, and then they tried to throw a slant when Denzel Ward was on him, which was a choice. They also had a target for Chase Brown on a little, I think it was a rub play, a man beater, the slant that, again, it was the drop, Carson Schlesinger bearing down on him. And I thought it was really maybe a too cute moment, maybe not. Maybe that's one that Zach will want back after the game, where you're asking Joe to read out the Gesicki Chase Brown side of the field, with that being the Denzel Ward side of the field as well. In your man beater
down with Charlie Jones in the Washington game. And is that one of your staple plays that you ran in Washington and you would come right back to it in a high leverage moment?
It is definitely a staple play. That's one of their man beaters, but I mean, why aren't we just reading out the other side of the field? If you have Denzel Ward on one side and you have T and Jamar on the other side, I feel like if you have T and Jamar on one side, you should be able to go after that. I feel like they should have been able to get after the slot corner matchup a little bit more with Jamar Chase. I felt like Andre Yosevach, anybody in the slot, I wanted to see more of an impact from in this game. But shout out Noah Fant for scoring a touchdown in his first game with the Bengals, and Chase Brown for his rushing touchdown, which was a really good run and was like back in the first quarter all those years ago, Joe, when I thought, man, they can run the ball in short yardage this year against the Cleveland Browns. Let's go. And then, unfortunately, Lucas Patrick left the game, leaving them with no backup center. Ted Karras hopefully came out of this one all right. He was limping at some point. And let's take a look at that Noah Fant touchdown here, Joe, before we get to our wrap-up thoughts. And we got a couple of PlayStation 5s to give away. But this is one of my favorite plays when it works for the team that I want it to work for. And it's one of the most frustrating plays, I think, for fans to watch, myself included, when it's going against the team you're rooting for, because it's so free when it works. You get that play action fake that is nothing. You're nowhere close to the running back on this play action fake. Like, you're out of the play action fake already, and everyone's coming downhill because of the run action, because you got Cody Ford coming downhill, and Cody Ford is going to go take on a couple of guys here.
He does well here.
Schlesinger just lets Noah Fant go, and this is just free, always free when that happens.
Did you see it developing when it was happening? Because as soon as the play action happened and I saw the linebackers, I screamed, "He's open!" And then I'm like, Burrow waited a click, and I'm panicking for that half a second in real time.
Luckily, you have some time here, but maybe this should have been a sign for us in the first half. Like, ball should be out right now, but you take 3 extra steps. Maybe this should be a sign that Joe is a little bit off his normal time in this game. Maybe not. Maybe it's okay. But
maybe that's the design.
I in the first half, again, like, I was kind of hand waving it away. Like, they're fine.
They're going to be fine.
This is fine. Everything's fine. Second half, totally different story. The protection falls apart. Run blocking falls apart. And I have the splits here because I always look at the EPA per play at halftime.
Okay.
And at halftime, Joe Burrow was at 0.46 EPA per play on 15 plays. The entire offense was at 0.31 EPA per play on 29 plays. The running game was in positive EPA per play, which is incredible.
Right.
They were well above average in success rate, all these things. Their offensive success rate in the first half was 59%. The second half.
So that's great. Sorry, like, those numbers for the first half would lead the league.
Yeah, those are all elite tier numbers. By the end of the game, when they finished, they were at minus 0.07 EPA per play. They were at a 42% success rate, and Joe Burrow's EPA per play dropped all the way to minus 0.02. Those sacks being a huge part of it, for sure, taking 3 straight sacks. Going to be very interesting to go back and watch those plays, because, Joe, when people were reacting to it live, the reaction was, this offensive line is terrible. What are we doing? We fell for it again. This offensive line just is still the same bad offensive line it's been. And I think these are like 50-50 blame kind of sacks to me. Joe's holding the ball. Maybe nobody's getting open. Maybe there's coverage sacks to some degree. Maybe it's the right side of the off, because a lot of blame on Orlando Brown because it was Myles Garrett that was getting the wins, but it was kind of pressure from the other side in some cases that caused Burrow to step into the path of Myles Garrett's rush. What were your thoughts there?
So the first of the three, the Bengals take a timeout, right? They weren't happy with whatever they were showing.
Oh, yeah. We're not even going to get to this, but
I
operational
know.
issues in this game. Miserable, miserable, miserable. Timeouts, 3 timeouts because they couldn't get plays called.
So in what they're lining up in, they're clearly, and they did this a lot during the game, but they clearly have Noah Fant going to chip on Myles Garrett, and then they call timeout. And then they come out, and it's not the exact same formation, but they keep Fant chipping. You can clearly say the way he stands, right? He stands to block and then release, but with an even stance rather than a receiver stance. And the Browns must have seen this before the timeout, and they said, all right, if he chips you, we're going to let you pull all the way into the A gap. I don't know if this was a called stunt by the way Garrett was reacting on the sideline with his teammates. Like they were like, you called it type, action. And so he gets chipped and gets slingshotted back into the A gap. You're right. He teleports all the way over, multiple gaps over. And I think the push helped him, and he's clear to come in and hit Joe Burrow. And they try that deep sideline pass because Burrow's got to get rid of it. And then I'm like, okay, you're
very nearly a really good throw and catch too.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it comes back to it. And now they're like, okay, we're going to let Orlando Brown take him, and we're going to help on the inside with Dylan Fairchild on the next play. So Orlando Brown gets blown backwards, but he's still in position. He's still in front of Joe Burrow and between Myles Garrett. And then Fairchild comes and launches Garrett around Orlando Brown Jr., and now Burrow's running from him. And the push does nothing to even move Garrett from his spot. Like he does get moved from his spot, but it doesn't affect his agility, doesn't affect his speed. He just takes it and orbits around the moon and slingshots at your quarterback. And it's like, geez, maybe we're giving him a little bit too much attention here. You're making it easy on this guy, relative, because he's a freak. But God, I'm glad we only got to play him twice a year.
Yeah, he is pretty good at football, Myles Garrett. The Browns defense continues to play the Bengals tough. The Bengals get lucky in this one. They will need to fix many, many things. We'll see how the offensive line looks when we go back and watch this again, because honestly, for a lot of the game, I thought protection held up.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half, obviously a much different story. We'll see what the source of the pressure was. A lot of it is just Myles Garrett. Some of it, though, I think in this game on Joe, I think they have a lot to figure out in the run game. They have to fix the operational issues. They have to fix the leverage issues at times that they have in their secondary and get these corners playing a little bit more consistently, because this is Flacco and the Browns. This is as soft as the test could have been, and they scraped by. They found ways to get pressure late in the game. They looked like they should at times late in the game. They scrape by, they get a win. You take the win, you take 1-0, you take all that action. That's great. And I'm glad we're talking about a win instead of a loss, because these are the kinds of games that they lost consistently last year that were just ugly like this. And they just didn't get the plays. They didn't get the bounces, and they got lucky and they made those plays in this game. But that said, Joe, let's get to our giveaway. We've got 2 PlayStation 5s to give away. One of them for all of you that have entered First Star Logistics and you hung out to the end of the stream here in the chat, and one for our winner from X. And let's see which one we bring up first. Joe, the honors.
Yeah, it's for Rachel Wilson, and it's Rach Wills on Twitter, on X. Congratulations to you. You're the first winner of the PlayStation 5. And I think this Twitter is your best chance to win these things. We got a lot of people in this chat here.
A lot of people in this chat. A lot of people entered on Twitter too. I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people getting in on that giveaway on Twitter. Make sure you're following at First Star Log on Twitter to see that chance for those giveaways every week. Next week, we got a Jamar Chase jersey to give away. I think you might have seen that if you were paying close attention on the side. I think it was
signed.
Jamar Chase. Signed. Beautiful, beautiful piece to add to your Bengals memorabilia collection. And let's see who comes down with this second PlayStation 5 that we're giving away to those of you here in our live chat. Drum roll. goes to
Siege.
Siege. Get in touch. We'll get in touch. You get in touch. You'll keep an eye on the comments. Make sure you get the instructions to claim your prize. You got to live in the United States to enter these giveaways. So keep that in mind. If you're entering in the future, we cannot ship these giveaways internationally. And next week, we've got that Jamar Chase signed jersey. And as we wrap up, just a reminder, if you're looking for work in the Cincinnati area, First Star Logistics, one of the fastest growing companies in Cincinnati. They're great to work with. Joe and I love working with them. They're looking to expand their brokerage department by hiring you if you're looking for a fast-paced career in the logistics industry. Visit firststarlogistics.com for details on how you can join the team at one of the top companies to work for in the Cincinnati area. We appreciate all of you so much for hanging out here at the Jake and Joe Bengals postgame show. We'll see you next week for the preview show and the postgame show right here on the First Star Logistics Media Network YouTube channel.